All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. Good evening to all of you. Well, let me introduce then myself to you. My name is Carlos Oliveira, and I'm going to be your teacher for the following weeks here at Executive English. All right. So it's always a pleasure for me to start a new group, and it's always a pleasure to, well, it's a greatest pleasure actually to start it with you as well. So great. Just want to, of course, let you know that we're going to be seeing each other for the following weeks. And as I say, it's an honor to start this new group with you. So, well, as I told you through the WhatsApp group, tonight we're just going to be having an introductory class that, well, just in case, of course, you are wondering about this is not going to be something that we're going to repeat because normally our classes are going to be from Tuesdays until Fridays. And as I say, in tonight's class, we're just going to discuss some general aspects about our classes to come. And we're going to discuss as well some general aspects about the TOEFL exam. That certainly will be the main topic of discussion in the following weeks. And of course, I want you to have some sort of background, right? Some basics, let's say, about the exam that we're going to be analyzing very much in depth in the following weeks and days as well. So yeah, let me please, by the way, we're always going to have like 5 minutes of tolerance, just in case, of course, some of you arrive lately to the class. It's going to be fine, okay? It's okay. And as I say, we are always going to have this 5 minutes of tolerance, as we're having right now, if you notice, because we're trying to start by 7:20. As well, although I told you that we'll be starting at 7:15, but as I say, it's just for the 5 minutes of tolerance, just in case, right? Great. Let me please share my screen with you. I'm going to be displaying a presentation that I prepared for you. It's not this one, by the way. Give me a sec. Oh, I'm gonna stop sharing once again. Okay, great. So as I said, we're gonna discuss some general aspects tonight. And tomorrow we're going to start with the real advancements, let's say, because tomorrow we're going to start discussing the exam and of course getting into our normal schedule that we're going to be sharing tonight as well. So don't worry about that detail, okay? Let me look here for this very quickly. And by the way, as you can see and notice, the class is being recorded. And that's because our classes are always going to be recorded and actually uploaded to a YouTube channel that you have already available in your WhatsApp group. Notice that in the WhatsApp group, if you go there and you look in the description or into the description of the WhatsApp group, you're going to be able to see that there is a link, right? Well, it's going to take you to the YouTube channel where all your classes are going to be, well, uploaded. And as I said, you're going to have the chance to rewatch them. And both, just in case at some point you miss one, right? That could happen. As it hasn't, at least it has happened before. So I think it could be useful. Anyways, we're gonna start. All right. Great. Well, I'm ready now. So let me please share once again my screen. And now let's start with the discussion of some very important points that we're going to be analyzing tonight together. Okay, so first thing I want to do, I want to welcome you, all right, to our family, to Executive English. Thank you very much, as I say, for having chosen us. And I think that when you want to take the TOEFL exam, you are joining a very extensive family already, because the exam, you know, the TOEFL exam as such was released in 1964. And when you think about that, you say, well, how many generations have taken this exam so far? It's just unbelievable, I would say. And apart from that, you're joining this family as well, Executive English. And since 2017, we've been having students from all around the world, and well, more than 10,000 students have trusted us. So it's always a pleasure, right, to to welcome you into this family as well. And as we're going to be becoming very much friends in the following weeks, let us always consider this, okay, that we are a family here as well. So great. Thank you very much, as I say, okay, for having chosen us. Well, let me continue. Have another interesting slide here. So let us start discussing some very, very general terms and issues. So the first thing, as you can see here, we have a policy about the classes, all right? And there's just one policy, actually. It's the only policy in our presentation tonight, and it's the only policy for our classes as well. So it's not like we're going to have some, I don't know, 10 commandments or something tonight. Don't worry about that. It's just this one. So please pay attention to this one. It says, we are always going to request, okay, our students to have their cameras on at every point during the classes, all right? And this is, by the way, a compulsory measure Because, well, the institution, and of course, we consider that the objective of having you well prepared for the exam is going to be attained, well, by your apprehension of all these topics and material that we're going to be discussing and sharing throughout the week. And well, we believe that if you have your cameras on, that is going to help to your apprehension, as I say, of all these topics. Now, of course, for tonight's class, it's totally fine if you don't have them on, because we're not told of this in advance. But now, starting tomorrow, it's very important, please, to have your cameras on, because as I say, we believe that you're going to be taking advantage of these classes and availing the material way better if you do so, all right? And by the way, please don't take this, what I'm going to say right now, as a threat or in a menacing way, because it's not, okay? It's just something that they request me to tell you. And the thing is that if at some point, for example, you don't have your camera on, I'm going to take you out of the Reunion, the Zoom Reunion that we have right now, right? But there is something, you can always re-enter the class, right? When you manage to solve your issues related to the camera. And that's because if you noticed, when I send this link to the Zoom Reunion we're having right now to the WhatsApp group, that is always that, or there is always something that I'm going to repeat. I'm going to be sending the link half an hour before, or sometimes 1 hour before. And as I say, you're going to have the chance to rejoin the class whenever you want, because the link is always going to be available there. So as fast as you manage to solve your problems, you're very much encouraged and welcome to join us as well, okay? So as I say, please don't take this seriously or as a threat, because it's not, okay? It's just something that, as I say, they request me to tell you. And I think that it's because they take it very seriously, because they have, constructed some sort of reputation, and they really want to, like the company, right? And they really want to have you well prepared and apprehending every single thing we're going to discuss. So please have your cameras on. That's the conclusion, actually. So thank you very much, okay, for having listened to that. Well, great. So after having discussed them, the only policy, as I told you, that we have in our classes, let us discuss some general aspects as well with regard to the organization of them. Look at this. If you look on my screen right now, you're going to be able to see, as I told you, the normal, let's say, well, curves of our classes, because we're going to have classes from Tuesdays until Fridays, okay? As I told you, tonight's class is unique. We're not going to have classes on Mondays anymore. It's just for today, because as I tell you, our normal advancement is from Tuesdays to Fridays, okay? Now, here at Executive English, we have a blended model of education, which means that we are going to combine theoretical classes with practical classes. And trust me that out of my experience, this is something that I really enjoy of these classes, because, well, I'm going to talk about this later, but in my life, I've taken this exam, I've taken this exam twice. And what I did at first, when I took it first, without any other type of experience or knowledge or previous information about the exam, is that, well, the only manner I prepare myself for the exam was by means of practical exercises. I took a lot of simulations. I looked for exercises on the internet. I looked for, I don't know, material, readings, listening passages, speaking sessions, a lot of things. And I never really thought about the possibility of having theory, or at least a theoretical comprehension of the material, as something meaningful and important for this exam. And when I came to the exam, I comprehended that many of my practices were outdated. That is to say, they were practices for all versions of the exam. And I had not really apprehended some sort of technique or constant manner to approach the exam. And I think that's the beauty of the theoretical classes we're going to have, that you're not going to merely practice or perform on these exercises and tasks, but you're going to understand the underlying concept behind them. And when you understand that underlying concept and the patterns that exist in the TOEFL exam, you're going to be able to perform this very much constantly. Doesn't matter if you're taking a simulation here, a practice, or in the actual exam, your results, are always going to be very much constant and equal. And I think that at the end, constancy is what all of us are looking for, right? So as I say, that's the beauty of these theoretical classes as well. And we're going to have them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's how we're going to organize more or less the schedule. Theoretical classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and practical classes on Wednesdays and Fridays to apply what we're learning, of course, in our theoretical classes, because certainly the idea is to have some sort of combination and blending of these two modalities, right? But please think about this as something very flexible, because we are not actually going to be, for example, I don't know, taking this very rigidly. Because certainly at some point you are going to be very much eager to practice, because the theory of some sections in this exam is very much easy, comprehensible, and also it's very much, let's say, intuitive. Therefore, it's not going to be that much important, let's say, to discuss a lot of theoretical aspects and to discuss it in profundity, but it's going to be way better and advantageous for you to practice right away. So in that case, we're gonna just, I don't know, have one theoretical class and then 3 practical classes. If that's the, let's say, the advantageous and beneficial scenario, of course, we're gonna take it. Now, if at some point the theory becomes very much important for your actual performance on the exam, certainly we're going to dedicate more time to the theoretical apprehension of these topics. So as I say, think about this as a spectrum, as something very much flexible, but not, let's say, super rigid, okay? Because it's not that way. So great, that's with regard to the schedule or the organization of the schedule, at least. And what I'm gonna do right now is that I'm gonna give you, just give me some seconds. I'm gonna, of course, offer you some time to make questions, all right? I'm not forgetting that, don't worry. But before I do that, let me please comment on some very general aspects of the TOEFL exam. And then I'm gonna, of course, lend you some time to make questions that I know that very much plausibly you have some of them. Great, so now that we have discussed about the courses we're having, right? The classes we're gonna have together, let us discuss about, let's say, the greatest ambition we will have right now, that is to approach and successfully attain and complete the TOEFL exam. So let us discuss the TOEFL exam as such, right? So for general terms and of course fun facts, let's say, the TOEFL exam, as I told you some minutes ago, was released or was first released in 1964. And that's a long time ago if you think about it, right? So yeah, and well, the TOEFL exam is administered, by the way, by a very famous company, an international company called ETS. So whenever you listen to me saying ETS, what I mean is simply the company that organizes, administers, I don't know, has created, let's say, the supreme leader of the TOEFL exam. It administered it, it created it. It also, well, it corrects the exam, certainly. It certifies the validity of your exam, etc., etc. So ETS is basically, as I say, the supreme leader of the TOEFL exam, all right? So whenever I say that term or I pronounce it with my mouth, please understand ETS, the company that organizes the exam, okay? That, by the way, is totally independent to Executive English, right? Executive English is just a company that, let's say, offers preparation for the TOEFL exam, but ETS is just something totally different, right? It's the company that organizes the exam, has complete control upon it, ETS, all right? Now, the TOEFL exam, as you can see here, does have a meaning, by the way. Many people believe that TOEFL is just something totally arbitrary, but it's not. It does have a meaning. And look at it, it's Test of English as a Foreign Language. That is what TOEFL stands for, Test of English as a Foreign Language, all right? Just in case somebody asks you at some point in your life, you can respond that as well, all right? Now, as I told you, the TOEFL exam is very old. And that means that since the time it was created, there have been several upgrades, changes that the exam has undergone. And actually, very much recently, the exam has changed and is going to continue changing in the future, of course. But for now, it's very much stable. And what I want to come to when I pronounce all these things is that there are actually, dear students, 3 modalities or versions of this exam. And you can take any of them, all right? So let us discuss the modalities or the versions of the TOEFL exam so that you can decide which one to take and which one suits you the better, okay? Of course, depending on your preferences, your scenario, your background, everything, all right? Let us discuss, as I say, the 3 modalities that are possible for you to take. And that way, as I mentioned, you're going to be able to decide by yourself which one to take, all right? So let us discuss first of all the most common one of them, and it's called the IBT version. And this is, let's say, the version that nowadays, I don't know, 70% of test takers who go and take the exam are preferring, or let's say it's a favorite of the audience nowadays, the IBT version. The IBT version, as you can see, stands for internet-based test, okay? And well, in this version, dear students, let me please right now open here my, well, I'm gonna teach you more or less in a very basic level. And actually, I'm gonna teach you very much completely because it's very easy to register for the exam and, well, to choose your modality. And of course, as I do this, I'm going to be explaining what the IBT version is. So, well, anyways, the first thing you do when you want to register for the TOEFL exam, okay, is to create an account, of course, if you don't have one, into ETS website. I've had many students before who have told me, well, there are people who are offering me to take the TOEFL exam, but you shouldn't go and, let's say, use intermediaries to take the TOEFL exam or something, because this type of mediators in the TOEFL exam or that claim to have contacts with ETS and they register you for the exam are normally scammers, or I don't know, people who are trying to deceive you, right? Deceivers. The only legitimate, as I said, manner to register for the TOEFL exam is in ETS official website, of course. So I'm gonna send it right now to the WhatsApp group, just in case, of course, you want to look at it later. I'm gonna send it right now. Let me please send it here. Okay. So as I said, the first thing you do when you want to register for the exam is to create an account into ETS official website. How do you do so? Well, by clicking here where it says create an account. And well, trust me that when you enter here is basically what you've done to create a Facebook account, to create an Instagram account. It's just the same. Of course, with this very much important exception that you're going to be requested to insert, let's say, more personal information. They're going to ask for your, well, let's say your address. They're going to ask for your ID. They're going to ask for where you're living right now, and so other information. But what I want to tell you is when you create your students your account, okay, within ETS website, please do it very much carefully and patiently, okay? Don't hurry up in this case, because the information you enter here and you search within the account you're going to create is going to be the same one that is going to appear on your credentials. Because when you take the exam, of course, ETS lends you and bestows upon you credentials that tell how much you got on the exam, how well you performed, etc. And that is what you present, right, to institutions, to get a job, to get a scholarship, etc. So the information, the personal information you offer when creating an account is going to be the same one that is going to be, of course, posted on these credentials. So please do this very much carefully, because trust me, the process to change information, it's very much chaotic. So you're not gonna want to actually confront that process. So better if you do this very much carefully, patiently, and calmly, okay? Do it when you have a bunch of free time. So, well, as I said, when you create your account, you just enter here with your credentials. These are mine. I'm gonna sig in to show you how to do this. So you get into, let me show you. And as well, it's very intuitive as well, what is gonna happen right now. You're gonna be able to see. So here we are. So as you can see, this is very much common. It's a normal website, but there is something. It says register, find test centers and dates. And here, as you can see, well, this button is highlighting very much, and this is striking, right? This is where you register for the exam. You just click here. And well, this is what I wanted to explain. You look at it. On my screen, we have something that says select your test. And what it means by this is select the modality of the TOEFL exam you want to take. And as you can see here, well, in my case, I have two different options. TOEFL Essentials is another thing. Don't even look at it. It's just, let's say, practices. Not very important. TOEFL IBT or TOEFL IBT Home Edition. I'm going to discuss that one later. It's another version of the exam. And there is a third one. That, by the way, well, as you can see, it's not available in my region, because although I told you that you are the one who chooses what modality would you like to take in the TOEFL exam, the availability of that modality depends on your region, depends on where you're living in right now. Okay, for example, I live in Bolivia, which means that the availability in my country is not the same for somebody who lives, let's say, I don't know, in Costa Rica or who lives in Peru, or who lives in, I don't know, in Colombia. So of course, as I say, with the information you enter and with all your credentials and stuff like that you enter when creating your account, that is going to be how you're going to be able to locate your possibilities, etc. Okay, so please, as I say, be very much careful to introduce that information correctly and do it, as I say, calmly. So as I mentioned, everything depends on the availability, but at the end, you're the one who chooses. Now, as I was discussing here, we have the TOEFL IBT edition, okay? And this is the one that I want to discuss in depth right now. So I'm gonna come back here to this presentation once again. And as I was explaining to you, IBT stands for internet-based test. And this is the most common version. That is to say, people take and prefer this one for some reason. And I think it's fine, actually. And this one consists of basically, dear students, you register for the exam, as you're going to be able to see right now. And the first thing you have to do is to choose a test center. What do I mean by a test center? What I mean by a test center is an institution, I don't know, a university, high school, could be a building, right? Very generic, where you are going to take the TOEFL exam. Because as you notice, in the internet-based test, you're required to go out of your home to take the TOEFL exam. You need to take the exam if you're going to take the IBT version outside. That is to say, in an institution that is, of course, certified and authorized by ETS to take the TOEFL exam, right? That is the first thing. And I want to show you how this works. And look at my screen right now. So when you click, for example, here, TOEFL IBT, that as you can see tells you, right, at a test center, not at home, but at a test center out of your home, you click it, and the first thing they ask you to is find test centers at or near this location. And here's where you actually, let's say, introduce where you're living in right now, or where would you like to take the exam? Because, for example, some people travel to other countries to take the TOEFL exam because for some reason, I don't know, they want to be there. I don't know, the TOEFL exam is, I don't know, they just want to go there because the TOEFL exam is always available in any country of the world. But some people travel and they want to take it abroad, etc. So just put here where you're going to be in when you want to take the exam, okay? So in this case, of course, I'm gonna, for example, say Santa Cruz de la Sierra, right? That is my native city, not California, but Bolivia. So the first thing I do is I select my city, or where would I be if I were to take the exam, right? Of course, I'm gonna take it, but so, and the second thing I ask you to insert here is the date that represents the time when you would like to take the exam. Some people, for example, like to take it immediately when they finalize these classes. They say, okay, I'm going to finalize on December 15th. Therefore, I'm going to take it on December 21 or 21st, excuse me. Or some say, well, I just finalized my classes of preparation. I'm going to take it next year. That's fine. As you can see here, you can select a 2-month period in which ETS right now is going to show you the availability of test centers and dates for you to take the exam. Of course, nothing is handy, right? Or nothing is, let's say, hand chosen. You cannot say, okay, I'm going to take it this Saturday, and ETS is going to, let's say, obey you. It doesn't work like that. The way it works is that everything depends on the availability that ETS has for you, depending on where you want to take it and when you want to take it. And as I say, here you give this 2-month period. Let's say I want to take it not this year, but let's say in January and February of next year. So I'm going to say, please show me the possible places where I could take the IBT version and the possible and available dates for me to take it in January and February. Okay, so once you do that, you just press here, continue. And as you're going to be able to see, ETS displays not only the possible dates for you to take the exam, but also the possible places where you can take it. Because as I told you, the important thing about the IBT version is that you're going to take the exam out of your home at a test center, in a building, a university, a high school. It could be anywhere. But the point is that it is an authorized place and certified place by ETS. And how do you know that? Well, if it appears here on the official website of ETS, it is an authorized and certified place. If it is not here and somebody tells you, hey, here you can take a TOEFL exam, don't trust them, because as I said, the only official manner to do so is here by this website. So look at this. I inserted January and February, And here's showing, okay, on January 4th, I have the possibility to take the exam, okay, at this place that is in my city and country. It says Digital Language Services. And here I have the address of such place. German Avenue, Santa Cruz, Bolivia, the fourth rim. This makes sense if you live in Santa Cruz. If you don't, well, it doesn't make sense, right? Because here the directions are crazy. But look at it. Here it's telling me where can I take it, okay? And of course, here displays other details as the price. And as you can see, normally the price for a TOEFL exam oscillates and, well, surrounds this quantity, $190. Sometimes it's let's say it decreases a little bit with $180, $175, but it never decreases more than $20. Okay, so there's no like a special date in which prices simply fall down or something for me to tell you, sadly. But normally it's just this spectrum, as I say, $20 more than this, but it's never more than $200. It's always less than that. But yeah, normally this is the price. So as you can see there, if I were to take the exam on January 4th, if I really wanted to take this on January 4th, this is the only available place I have for that date. Now, let's see for January 14th. As you can see here, if I want to take it on this date, I have more options. I have more places because doesn't matter where you live. You're always going to find one or two places, test centers, right? Where you can take the exam. As you can see here, if I were to take it on January 14th, I could take it in Centro Boliviano Americano, which is a very famous place here in Santa Cruz, or I could take it at this university, for example, Universidad Tecnológica. I know this one, I think. So yeah, as you can see, I could take it in any of those places. I would be the one deciding in which place I would like to take it. And of course, everything depends on where I live. If that is, I don't know, more nearby my son, or for some reason I have some preference for that place. I believe it is, I don't know, more quiet, something. As I say, everything depends on you at the end. And well, the same for February 25th, and et cetera, right? So as I say, this is what you do, okay? You introduce the city where you're living in right now, and then you introduce the possible time when you would like to take it. And ETS here displays for you all the possible options in the range, in a spectrum of possibilities you have inserted, okay? So when you choose one, well, this simply asks you for paying, right, the fee, $190 normally. And well, it's the rest is just normal procedures like entering your Gmail, where you're going to receive all the information and more material, right, to be aware of for the exam. And well, that is what I wanted to discuss about the IBT version. Now, the second thing that is very important to discuss about this modality is how it works. Because as you can see, when I come back here to my presentations, the name of this version, the IBT version, is internet-based test, which means that, dear students, when you go to your test center, let's say you have chosen, I don't know, a university to take the exam in. So you go to this university on the appropriate time, right? Let's say you chose to take the exam on January 5th. So you go to this university on January 5th. You arrive there, and trust me, there are going to be a bunch of people waiting for you, people who work for ETS, let's say staff members from ETS, working for ETS at that place. They're going to welcome you. They're going to make you feel very much comfortable. And they're going to say, okay, guys, they're going to make some explanation of what's going to happen. And then for the IBT version, they're going to take you within a computation room, because it doesn't matter where you're going to take it. Every single test center has a computation room. Why? Because the TOEFL exam, when you take it through the IBT version, you're going to take it all through a computer. Every single reading passage you're going to read, every single listening passage you're going to listen to, the essays you're going to write for the writing section, when you're going to speak up, of course, for the speaking section, everything is going to be through a computer, using a keyboard, using headphones connected to a computer, using the mouse, everything. As I say, it's through a computer. They give you the computer, they give you, let's say, the devices, the peripherals. You don't have to worry about that. They give you everything you need. Actually, they even give you papers and pencils for you to take notes, and you can actually save those ones for you later on. It's a very good souvenir for saying, I survived the TOEFL exam or something, right? But yeah, at the end, as I say, they give you everything you need, right? But the exam, you are going to take it through a computer. Everything is going to be through a computer, okay? So you need to know that. So if you like the idea of taking it through a computer, fantastic. This is certainly your version. Of course, now taking the IVT version has also its disadvantages. Okay, not everything is, of course, advantages. As of course, I think that in the 21st century, everybody is very much used to computers. We feel comfortable with computers. So probably you're gonna say, well, this modality seems very much attractive because, well, it's a computer. I know how to manage it. And of course, if something goes wrong with your computer at the test center, as I say, there are staff members from ETS working there. So you just raise your hand and somebody comes and helps you, right? That's another of the very much sublime beauties of this modality, that you have the chance to ask for technical support. Now, there is a disadvantage, and you have to be aware of this one. That is, think about this modality. You're going to go to a test center. It's not your home. It's not private property, let's say. It's not your own place, which means that you are not going to be the only person taking the exam. To be very much clear, you are not going to be the only person taking the exam at that particular time in that particular place. Normally, when you take the IVT version, around 10 or 12 people apart from you take the exam in the same place you take it. They're going to be introduced within the same computation room, and trust me, they're going to be very much nearby you. There's going to be somebody, right, on your right side, somebody behind you, somebody in front of you, somebody on your left. And that means that, of course, if you don't like to have, let's say, proximity when being very much concentrated or something, because people are going to be, of course, making some noises. There are going to be people walking through the corridors because, as I say, the ETS staff members go and help some people, etc. If you don't like that type of a scenario and environment, maybe that is something you should consider. And also, of course, for the speaking section, there is something that some people are, of course, aware of. And that is that in the speaking section, everybody normally speaks at the same time. That is to say, for the speaking section, you have to speak up, right, in front of the computer, because the microphone they give you, the microphone they're going to give you that is connected to a couple of headphones, as we're going to explain later, don't worry, in the speaking section, when we discuss that in our classes, everybody's going to speak at the same time, normally. Like when you're speaking, right, for your response to be recorded with a microphone, the person who is beside you on your, I don't know, right side is also going to be speaking. And of course, everybody speaks up. Everybody speaks very much loudly. So that could deconcentrate you, right? And that is, let's say, the most common issue in this modality. So all those things should be taken into consideration. Think about the advantages, think about the disadvantages, think about, I don't know, your preferences, and decide if this is the version that suits you the better, okay? Now, let us discuss the second version that is very similar to the IVT version, but with a very slight but significant change. And that is called the home IVT version, all right? The home IVT version. Now, as you can see, I think the name is very much let's say, referential. The home IVT version, instead of taking it out of your home, you're going to take it at home. That is to say, you don't have to move out of your home to take the exam, because you're going to take it there within your own house, okay? And the process to choose the modality is very much similar, as you could see when I show you this first. Here, where you select the option, if you just press TOEFL IVT home edition instead of TOEFL IVT, here is going to show you all the available times and dates for you to take the exam. And of course, in this opportunity, it's not going to show you places to take the exam because you're going to take it at home, right? So it's not necessary to look for a place because, well, the place is certainly your own house. So let me explain this a little bit more. So the difference, as I say, a very much crucial difference, is that in this case, you're not going to be out of your home to take the exam. But this is also an internet-based test. That is the reason why it is still IVT version. The only difference is that this is home IVT version. So everything you're going to do for the IVT version, you're also going to do it here in the home IVT version. You're going to read your passages on a computer. You're going to write your essays through a keyboard connected to a computer. You're going to use the mouse. You're going to get a couple of headphones, etc. But now the only difference is that that computer you're going to utilize as your primary means to take the exam is going to be your own computer, right? Of course. In this case, nobody's going to bring a new computer within your home just for you to take the exam or something. Nobody's going to lend a computer. You have to use your own computer and you have to provide all the necessary devices and peripherals for you to take the exam. All right, that is how it works, as I say. And this is very important because not all computers and equipments are, let's say, capable of tolerating the requirements for the exam, because they have the specific requirements when you want to take the home IVT version that your computer must certainly meet and match if you want to take this version. I think it's Windows 10 and many other options. And if you want to check out those details and those requirements, you can just go, as I say here, to the official website and you look for that, because it's also in the main window of the website. You're gonna be able to find that information. Of course, if at some point you have some hesitation and doubt, you can contact me, get in touch with me, and I'm gonna be able to share it with you. But as I said, there are some requirements that your computer must match and meet if you want to take this modality in particular. But apart from that, as I said, it's the same. The reading passages on your screen, reading, writing, speaking up, listening. Now, of course, maybe you're wondering, so if I'm going to take it at home, doesn't that mean that nobody's going to be taking control of me? That is to say, nobody's going to be supervising my work? And doesn't that mean that people can easily cheat? And the response is no. You cannot actually cheat on this modality as well, because first of all, they require you to have your web camera or your webcam always turn on, right, and directing to you. And if you get out of the scope of the camera for a matter of 5 seconds, you're out of the exam. You're just disqualified. And another thing is that they use something called ProctorU. I'm not sure if you're familiarized with that, but ProctorU is, let's say, a website that allows somebody else to take control of your computer, at least in a view manner. That is to say, everything you see on your screen is also going to be available to the person who's going to be in charge of looking at you. Because, by the way, when you take this version on modality, you receive a supervisor or a reviewer that is going to be all the 3 hours and a half that this exam basically longs for or stands for. It's going to be accompanying you, by the way. Okay, so you're going to have company. You're not going to be completely alone. There's going to be a person watching on you, watching on your screen, as I say, through ProctorU during the entire exam. So as I say, it's not possible to cheat. And also the software they send when you want to take the exam, the TOEFL home IVT version, blocks all the applications of your computer, as Google, I don't know, Chrome or your notes, etc. So, or your vocabulary, whatever. So at the end, you cannot actually access anything else but the exam for those 3 hours and a half that the exam, as I say, lasts for. So it's not possible to cheat. And by the way, as I say, somebody's constantly looking on you. All right. So, and well, here there are some disadvantages too. Of course, an advantage could be set to be that nobody's going to be there, right? In this case, you don't have to worry about noises or something, because if you want to take the home IVT version, of course, you're going to make sure to have a very much quiet space, maybe your own room, and etc. Now, here there is something important, dear students. Notice that here is your own computer and your own house. That means that if you at some point get some sort of technical issue with your computer or with your internet, because certainly you're going to need a very good connection to internet every single point during the exam. If something goes wrong at some point, if something gets complications, that is going to be your own responsibility. And certainly ETS is not going to make responsible for, I don't know, if your computer turns off, if it freezes out or something. They're just going to be whether reprogramming your exam for older dates, or I don't know, asking you to repay another exam. So as I say, it's something very much dangerous here. Of course, it has a lot of advantages, but you have to consider this very much carefully, okay? Because as I say, it's all your responsibility now. You're accepting all the responsibility. Whereas in the IVT version, as I say, if something goes wrong with your computer, that's ETS issue, or that's ETS problem, and they help you and they have people there to support, etc. And well, they basically make charge of it. But here's your responsibility, okay? So please have this into consideration when deciding, okay? And there's a last type of modality. But by the way, this is probably not a version you're going to take because it's not available in most countries of South America and Central America. but this is called the PBT version, okay? It's called paper-based test. It stands for paper-based test. And on this modality, dear students, is basically the same with regard to the content of the previous exams or modalities we have just reviewed. But the only and very much evident difference, I think, is that instead of taking the exam through a computer, instead of taking the exam through, I don't know, instead of writing your essays, for example, with a keyboard, you're going to write them with your own hands, right? Using a pencil on paper. Instead of reading your passages on the screen, you're going to receive, I don't know, a piece of paper that contains reading passages and the questions for you to respond. And the same for the listening part. You don't have headphones, or you don't get headphones for listening to the audios or to the recordings, but instead you have some sort of speakers that will give you the possibility to listen. But as I say, you're not going to touch a computer if you go for the PBT version, okay? And this is not normally, as I said, something that you're going to find available in South America, because this was created mostly for countries that do not have a very much constant and, let's say, accurate or appropriate access to internet, as, I don't know, countries in Africa or something like that. But as I said, it's not normally available. But if it is available in your country and you want to take it because you don't like computers, or you feel more, I don't know, comfortable when reading on paper or something, well, fantastic, take it. As I say, everything at the end is your own preference and it's up to you totally. And also, the fee is, by the way, the exact same for each of this modality. That is to say, if you want to go for the IBT version, it's also $190. If you go for the home IBT version, it's also $190, and for the PBT version, $190. Okay, so at the end, it's just the same. It's not something different, but everything depends on your preferences and your own perception of these things. Okay, so this is the part where I want to, of course, offer you some time for you to make questions about everything we have discussed until this point, the general aspects of the exam, the modality. If it's something that's I don't know, pending to be clarified, please tell me. It's going to be a pleasure to help. Is there any question, dear students, with regard to what we have discussed until this point? I don't know, Maya, Lucia, Fla, Lenny, Yvonne. Is there any question? No questions on this?
Good evening, Carlos. It was a clear explanation. I think that, well, for my own, there's no questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Lenny. Fantastic. Great. What about the rest of you guys? Is there any question? Please, very, very much confident. I'm here to help you, okay? If there's something that I should clarify, I'm going to do it with pleasure. Okay, so if there are no questions, then very good. Okay, great. So I think that there are no questions. So what is next? Why should you take the TOEFL exam? This is a very much, let's say, well, common question that I received. The response is very simple. Mostly 3 reasons, okay? First one, to be accepted in universities around the world that are located in countries where English is, of course, the native language. That is to say, countries like the US, Great Britain, Ireland, I don't know, could be, well, any other European country like Poland or Netherlands. English is always a main language. So, of course, when you want to apply to American universities, especially, or to European universities, they are looking for students because you know that the panorama in these universities is a little bit different to what we have in South America. Normally here in South America, universities look for students, but in these other countries, students look for universities, in the sense that universities have, let's say, the right, or they give themselves the pleasure to look for particular students they want to accept in their institutions, right? They are not, let's say, disposed to accept any type of student within their institutions because they have prestige. And that means that they are looking for very good candidates to accept within their institutions. And now something they're always looking for is people that certainly are able to speak English in a very, very good level. How can they make sure you have the level they are looking for? By looking at the results you get in the TOEFL exam, right? we have to discuss this, by the way. Look at this thing. Here we have the different sections of the TOEFL exam. We have the reading section, we have the listening section, we have the 10 minutes break, we have the speaking section, the writing section. I'm going to explain this a little bit further later, but the idea is that you have 4 different sections, right? And all the sections are punctuated in the scale of 0 to 30. For the reading section, the minimum qualification you can get is 0 and the maximum 30. The same for the listening, the speaking from 0 to 30, and the same for the writing. So at the end, if you, for example, make your calculations and you sum up everything, the maximum score you can get in general for all the exam is 120, right? 120. And the minimum, of course, 0. So many people come and ask me, so what is a good score? Is it fine if I get 80, 70, 75? And the reason why I tell you this right now, it's because everything depends on the university or the institution you're interested in applying to. Let me tell you something, for example. I was reading the other week a very interesting article that was published by Prep Scholar. It's a very much famous website. Probably you've heard about it. And they made their investigations, etc. They're journalists. They do this very much commonly. And they made their research, and they found out how much. I'm gonna reformulate my sentence. They found out how many test takers managed to get more than 105 in their exams. Because remember, I told you the minimum you can get in the exam is 0, and the maximum is 120 overall, right? So they found out that merely 5% of test takers around the world managed to get more than 105. Now, that is maybe a good, let's say, concept or foundation for you to think about what is a good score. But there is something else and more important. Everything depends on the institution you want to send these scores to. Because as I told you, for example, 2 years ago, well, it was actually last year, I was applying for a very important program to Harvard University. I wanted to be accepted into Harvard University. So I applied to Harvard. And when you go to Harvard's description of an ideal candidate for applying to that institution, because as I say, they give themselves the pleasure and let's say the benefit of looking or receiving these students. It's not like you say, I want to go to Harvard and you study there, yes or yes. No, they select you, right? So if somebody wants to study there, and it's not, of course, somebody who is a native speaker of this language, they're looking for people who get at least 109 in the TOEFL exam. And as I told you, merely 5% of people who take the exam manage to get more than 105. So Harvard is looking for a very much selected group of people, right? Now, it's not the same for other universities. For example, I remember that I also applied to a way smaller university that was called Wheaton College. And this one, they merely asked for 75. So think about it, the difference, right? When you compare Harvard to Wheaton College, for example. In Harvard, they were asking for 109 in the TOEFL exam. And in Wheaton College, they were asking for 75. Why? Because as I told you, everything depends on the prestige of the university, the type of the student they are looking for, if they want students who enrich the campus with, I don't know, a very, very much important fluidity in their speaking, I don't know. But they have their criteria, okay? So everything depends on that. For example, if you want to apply to Harvard, of course, you want to get more than 109. If you want to apply to Wheaton College, you need to get at least 75. And the way you know this is by asking directly to the institution you want to apply to, hey, how much should I need to get for you to be content with my results and for me to have a possibility to be accepted into your university? And they respond to you. They say, okay, we will be happy if you get 80 or 85 or maybe 70 or maybe 100. So they tell you. And of course, if you really want to apply there and to be accepted, you have to look for that result. And that is what constitutes, let's say, a good score. But as I say, normally, merely 5% of people who take the exam manage to get more than 105. So it's difficult, but it's certainly possible. Okay, trust me, I tell you this by experience. Now, scholarships is another reason. As I told you, American universities and European universities are certainly the best universities of the world. That means that people are not only looking for studying there, but also receiving scholarships because prices are very much elevated. So if you want to study there with a scholarship, you are going to compete against the most talented students of the world, because certainly, especially if it is a very prestigious university, everybody wants to get there. So you're going to compete against people from India, from Argentina, I don't know, from Russia, from China, and all these people want to get there, and they are amazing people with incredible grades in school, with incredible extracurricular activities. But there is a detail that, of course, could make you stand out from that very, very much long pool of applicants, and that is the results you get in the TOEFL exam. Because if, for example, you get 110, and all the other applicants for that same scholarship you're looking for get 95, well, of course, you're going to stand out from the rest, right? Because you get 110 in the TOEFL exam, which means that you will be able to take advantage of the material they're going to teach you in that university way better than the others. And that is, of course, something they consider certainly a lot, okay? So scholarships. And then getting a job as well. People like to work remotely nowadays. So if you're, I don't know, a programmer and you want to work for Microsoft, but you live in Bolivia, you can apply to a remote position working for Microsoft, and of course, receiving and earning a salary, an American salary, let's say, as a programmer for Microsoft by living in Bolivia. Fantastic, right? Or living in Peru or living in Colombia. So getting a job that requires you to get this, or well, at the end, the CVs are always enriched by getting a very good English, right? And you know that people nowadays, you know that because English courses have become so popular and mainstream, it's super easy to get a diploma that says that you know how to speak English. But at the end, they make you an interview or they look at your profile, and everybody hesitates and doubts that you actually speak English. But what they do not hesitate about is that if you get a good qualification in the TOEFL exam, there is a specific exam for you to demonstrate that you actually speak English, and of course, read and write and listen very well. Nobody's going to doubt that you actually speak English. But if you present just, I don't know, a certificate from a very simple course that says that you have, I don't know, B1 level, that just is useless. It's pathetic, actually. But if you present a TOEFL exam, right, that is the most prestigious exam in the world for demonstrating your proficiency, well, nobody's going to doubt about that, because the TOEFL exam is recognized in 154 countries around the world. So nobody, doesn't matter where you want to work, or doesn't matter to what people or institutions want to present these institutions, or excuse me, these results to, all of them know about the TOEFL exam and all of them respect it, okay? So as I say, it's the best manner for you to demonstrate your proficiency if you want to get a job remotely or working in your own country, okay? Great. And of course, self-realization is another reason people want to demonstrate that they have learned English. And this is the only official and, let's say, unfailable manner to do it, okay? Fantastic. So now, let us discuss this very quickly. As you can see, as I told you, we have 4 different reading sections, or excuse me, 4 sections in the TOEFL exam. The first one is called reading section. The second one is called listening. The fourth one is speaking, and excuse me, the third one is speaking, and the fourth writing. These are basically the modalities, or let's say the areas of English that we've been studying throughout our entire life, right? Reading, listening, speaking, and writing. Now, as you can see here, we have an order, right? It's reading, listening, speaking, and writing. And by the way, this is the order that ETAs every single time respects for the exam. Doesn't matter what modality or version of the exam you're going to take. If you take the IBT version, the first section you're going to approach is going to be the reading, then the listening, then a 10 minutes break, then the speaking, and then the writing. The same for the home IBT version and the PBT version. This is always the order. It's reading, listening, speaking, and writing. Okay? As you can see, we have a duration of each of these sections. The TOEFL exam, by the way, dear students, is a very long exam. Okay? Look at it. It says the reading section lasts for approximately 60 to 80 minutes, almost 1 hour and a half. Okay? So when you finalize the reading section, that, as I say, lasts for approximately 1 hour and more, immediately after you finalize, you're going to receive and start the listening section immediately, without any type of rest. Immediately listening, once again, from 60 to 90 minutes, 1 hour and a half. Okay, when you finalize that, the listening section, you get 10 minutes for you to have a break. And this is the only time during the exam when you can actually do whatever you want. You can go to the bathroom, you can drink water, you can eat something, you can read your notes, etc. Because you're in the entire exam, when you're performing on any of the sections, you cannot do anything else but performing on the exam, okay? So as I said, this 10 minutes break that works for all the modalities. It's the only point during the exam when you can, as I say, do anything else apart from the exam, okay? When you come back from those 10 minutes break, you start with the speaking section. And as you can see, this is the shortest part, very ironically. It's just 20 minutes, okay? You perform the speaking section, you have 20 minutes, it's gonna last for 20 minutes. And then right after that, immediately, it comes the writing section. So immediately after the speaking section, you come with the writing section that lasts for 50 minutes, okay? And after you have finalized and completed the writing section, that's it. You have completed the TOEFL exam, and there's nothing else to do apart from, as I say, checking out your results and of course, waiting for the complete results to arrive to you in 1 week. Because by the way, when you complete the exam in any of the modalities, they give you the chance to receive your scores right after you finish of the reading and listening section. You can see your scores, the reading and the listening, okay? But your scores for the speaking and the writing section will not be displayed, will not be displayed to you after 1 week of waiting. Why? Because the speaking and the writing section are the only parts of the exam that need to be reviewed by a professional human being, right? Because the reading and the listening, normally they review them with artificial intelligence or a very simple software that designed for checking out if your responses were correct. But for the speaking and the writing, there's going to be an actual professional listening to you and reading your essays in order to evaluate you personally, all right? So as I said, that's the reason why the speaking and the writing section in those particular parts of the exam, you're gonna have to wait 1 week approximately in order for ETS to send you the scores for the speaking and the writing section, and of course, your overall score for the entire exam, which, as I say, depending on how much you get on the reading, the listening, the speaking, and the writing, could be from 0 to 120 as a maximum, all right? And this is how it works every single time, all right? Very important for you to know that. Now, is there any question with regard to this part? Any question with regard to the composition of the TOEFL exam? Anything here to be clarified? No, no questions? All right, no questions, I think. Great. So we are about to finalize, okay? Just give me a second. So I want to show you right now 2 things, okay? First of all, I want to present myself a little bit more to you, because I know that maybe you are curious about, your professor, right? So in my experience, I've taken this exam twice in my life. First one in 2020, second one last year. And those were my results. The first time I took it, I got 100 out of 120. And the second time I took it, I got 110 out of 120. Why do I show you my scores? I show you my scores because I want to motivate you. I want to tell you that the first time I took a simulation for the TOEFL exam, I was overwhelmed and almost thunderstruck of my performance because I was expecting something way higher. And what I got in my simulation was 70 out of 120. So that helped me a lot in order for me to be motivated. And I practiced and I studied a lot in order for me to get those results later. So as I say, it's not impossible to actually get more than 105 on the exam. It's a matter of constant practice and constant learning and, well, let's say, apprehension and internalization of the concepts we are going to discuss throughout the classes, okay? So please have this on mind, right? And something that I didn't have, that you do have in this opportunity, is somebody to ask questions to, because I never had classes like this when I prepare myself for the exam in any of my 2 times I took it. But in this case, you do have, and that's me. So at some point, at every point actually, when you have a question about, I don't know, a technique or how could you approach this particular part of the exam, or what would be the best manner to do something, ask me, okay? I'm here to you, for you, in order for you to be, well, guided and helped so you can receive the score you're looking for, your desired score, all right? Doesn't matter if it is a 70 or a 100 or 110, I can tell you. So I want you to have the same as me and more than me, okay? So that's just for you to know, all right? Very good. Now, finalizing them, I want to show you this. This is the schedule. Now, this is the official schedule of our classes. This week, that is to say tomorrow, starting tomorrow, we're going to be discussing the listening section. The entire week, from Tuesday to Friday, the listening section is going to be the focus of concentration. Everything we're going to discuss on the theoretical classes and practical classes is going to be about the listening section. Okay? Second week, next week, we're going to be starting with the speaking section. And as you can see, we have divided the speaking section into 4 different modules or something, because the speaking section is also divided into 4 different parts, as you're going to be able to notice later on. But on the second week of these classes, we're going to be discussing the speaking section, or the speaking section in its task number 1. In the third week, the speaking 2 and 3. And the fourth week, we're going to be finalizing with the speaking 4, and starting with the writing 1, because the writing section, just as the speaking section, is divided into 2 different parts. So we are here, as you can see, splitting a little bit more the content, so that we can have, I don't know, some flexibility and, let's say, concentration and specialization on some areas right, of the exam. Fifth week, we're going to be discussing the writing section in its second part. And the last week, we see each other in these classes, we're going to be discussing the reading section. As you can see, at the end, you're going to be receiving preparation for every single section of the TOEFL exam, right? A lot of material, of course, a lot of practices, so don't worry, all right? It's going to be a lot. So trust me, it's going to be a very interesting journey, starting tomorrow with the listening section and finalizing in 5 weeks with the reading section, okay? And that's the schedule. You can save it, you can take a picture, just for you to know, but at the end, I'm always going to tell you, right? And final thing, because you chose executive English, you have a benefit. And that benefit is called speaking sessions. These are sessions, 1 by 1, 1-to-1, if you want to name it like that, of one student with me. It's like a personal speaking session, excuse me, in which we are going to be practicing during 20 minutes, or excuse me, 15 minutes for the speaking section alone. And these speaking sessions, you can reserve them through our official website, executiveenglisheducation.com. I'm going to send the link and the documents to the WhatsApp group. And by the way, these are free. These are included in the price you have paid for these classes. And you can use this, as I say, in order to practice for the speaking section, because certainly the speaking section is the most difficult part of the exam. And we believe that by offering you this possibility to have 1-to-1 or 1-by-1 sessions with me, in which there's just one of you with my person, you're going to have the chance to improve way better your performance on the speaking section, all right? So you can reserve this, as I say, depending on the availability you have on the website. You're going to be able to see that if you register and if you go there. I'm going to send, as I say, all the details and the procedures for you to be able to reserve your speaking sessions, depending on the availability you're going to find in the website, okay? Trust me, it's going to be a very good resource, and you are able to use it whenever you want during these classes, okay? So I'm going to send the document, and please wait for that, okay? And as you can see, that's the end of the presentation tonight. Is there any question, dear students, with regard to the to whatever we have discussed until this point? Anything that I could clarify, please tell me. Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. For the speaking sessions, do we have like a minimum or just specific days, for example?
Yes. Yeah, very good question. So we have a minimum of 12. Well, we have a maximum, let's say. You can take up until 12, 15-minute calls with us, or with me in this case, of course, right? So the maximum, let's say, or the top of this particular resource is 12, 15-minute calls. Now, with regard to when can you take it, the answer is very simple. There is an availability period in the website that, if I'm not wrong, is on Mondays from 7 until 9 p.m. That is to say, you can reserve these sessions from 7 until 9 p.m. on Mondays. And if you reserve, for example, I don't know, next Monday at 7:15, I'm going to be there. You're going to receive a link to a Zoom meeting. I'm going to be there at that time. And if you enter as well, we're going to have this session, as I say, for 15 minutes. And that is going to be our first session. And you can reserve another one that same day, or you can reserve, excuse me, another one next week or in 2 weeks, as you prefer. This is something that, as I said, it's very much, let's say, very much malleable, and that is up to you, all right? Is that fine?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Is there any other question, dear students? Any other thing that I could clarify here? No questions? All right, fantastic. No questions, I think. So I'm gonna tell your assistance before you go, all right? Because as you know, there's another benefit. How many benefits you get? There's another benefit of taking these classes, and that's that at the end, you're gonna receive a certificate from an American university that certifies that you have taken these classes, and of course, it gives you a class at some point in your CV, right? And how you can get it? Well, by assisting to these classes and saying present at the end of every single class. All right, so please bear with me until I take your assistance. I'm going to tell your names, and when you listen to them, you please say present. All right, and something else. At the end of every single class, your students, we're going to have a poll. You know what a poll is, right? A poll is basically, let's say, a votation process. And specifically for this one, this is an anonymous poll. Okay, it's anonymous in the sense that I'm not able to see what person responds what or who says what. And this is a poll with regard to the class. If you understood the material, if you believe that the class was well prepared, if I managed to respond to your questions, it's just about the class, okay? So of course, I appreciate your responses, your kind responses very much. So I'm gonna be always displaying this poll at the end of every single class, and you're gonna help me with that, okay? As I take your assistance, and we're gonna start today, actually. So please let me launch it right now. Look at your screen, and please help me with that poll as I take your assistance, okay? Here in my register, okay? So listen to your names as you fill that poll for me. And now, okay, so it's here present our dear Fernando Richard. Okay, it's not here. What about Lenny Jimenez? Right here. Okay. What about yeah, Lenny? Are you there?
Yes, sorry, teacher. What was your question?
No, I was just well, saying your name. Well, for you to respond present, for you to have, you know, your assistance in the list. This is
Yes.
okay.
Okay,
That's okay,
yes.
don't worry.
Okay, thank
All
you so
right.
much.
Fantastic. Great. So what about let me see another name. What about Yvonne Cana?
Here, present.
Okay, thank you very much, Yvonne. What about Maya Muriel?
Present.
Okay, thank you very much, Maya. What about Flavia Montaño?
Present.
Thank you very much, Flavia. What about Janelli Rojas? Karen Janelli Rojas. Okay, and finally we have Lucia Sulema.
Here, present.
Okay, thank you very much, Lucia. Great, there we are. So thank you very much, okay, guys, for staying present and also for your kind responses to the poll. So I'm gonna be seeing you tomorrow, okay, at 7 o'clock. As I said, we're gonna have 5 minutes of tolerance. But anyways, please try to be very much early so that we can start with the listening section, okay? So have a wonderful night, and I see you tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining me.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye,
thank you
see
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye later. Thank you very much. See you. Bye-bye, thank you.